Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Becoming Your Strong podcast. This is quite the experience for me because I am currently sitting in a brand new place that I have yet to record a podcast episode in, but I'm also sitting here smiling, thinking how many more episodes are going to come from sitting right here in this chair, exactly where my feet are at, and just the growth, the journey that I'm about to take on. And I'll share a little bit more of that, but in relation to the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week, I'm looking around the apartment. I'm laughing because there were so many moments in my new apartment where I've had plenty of Becoming Your Strong moments. I will just share this. I am a crafty person. I love art. I love being creative, but I cannot tell you the last time or really how much I enjoy putting together like furniture, things like really complex bed frames and headboards and desks, the things that come in gazillion pieces with directions that don't make any sense. I can't really say that that's my jam, and I've been put to the test. My joy has been put to the test trying to do a lot of these things on my own, by myself, for the first time. Normally I have someone here to help me, and I didn't this time around in moving. And so I just remember like feeling this overwhelm and like frustration and panic of just like, I have all these things to get done. I just feel like everything around me in my life is slightly falling apart and is a mess, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water. And these directions make no sense, and I just want to throw something through the wall, truly. And then I also remember taking a really big, deep breath and telling myself what was true in that moment, and telling myself the things that I could really grasp onto, not just like the positive things, like everything's going to be fine, but just like the helpful optimism of I've been in hard places before and I've made it through every single one of them. And this is one of those hard moments, but this is not something that is impossible. This can be overcome, and all you got to do is take a big deep breath and take one step at a time. And lo and behold, I'm sitting here and I am sleeping off of the floor. My mattress is suspended off of the floor. I got a bed frame that has now worked for 2 or 3 nights in a row, so that is a freaking win. We have yet to have it collapse, so I think we're in the green. I'm also sitting at a new desk that I just think is so cute and absolutely love, that I'm podcasting from at this very moment, that I just put together last night. And I'm just really proud of that, because I've also come to realize that like in those moments where I feel overwhelmed or I don't know what to do, that sometimes I just like, I'm like, okay, I can't do this, I need help. Or actually, I just like push it underneath the rug and don't do it in the first place. And so from like a Kayla putting on her big girl panties and adulting standpoint, that was a really big, important moment for me to have as of recently. And so I'm just really proud of myself for stepping into my strength. This has not been a very easy season of life for me to start. And that's ultimately what we're going to talk about today. I think last week on the podcast, I shared that I've been going through it, that there have just been some big changes in my life, and that I would at some point be able to process and come on the podcast and probably share that with you. And I feel like I am in a place to finally do that, especially after an extraordinary moment that I had this morning, where I just got the chance to like get silent and go internal and focus on me, which feels like it's been truly a long while since I've had the chance to do that. For the last 1.5 years of my life, I have been pouring myself into a relationship that I really valued and that I quite honestly thought was going to be it. Like, this is it. I dreamed a future. I put up this fantasy with this individual, and as of recently, it ended. And what it ultimately came down to was just they did not share the same vision that I shared when it came to us and our relationship. And so I right now am in a place where I am mourning and grieving a loss of a fantasy, a loss of a dream. And it's a tough place to be in, right? Especially again, when you thought that this was it. This is like where your life, where you feel like it truly begins. And you can start to live out some of those things that you've always hoped for. And so the ending of that has been tough, but I think it also was necessary. I think the journey that I'm about to go on, this next chapter that I'm getting ready to start, is going to be probably one of the most profound chapters of my entire life. And that's a big thing for me to say, especially like seeing what I've been through the last 4 to 5 years, the courage to change my life from being at rock bottom and being in toxic relationships and not taking care of myself to standing where I'm standing right now. I did not expect a year and a half ago that this is where I would be. Things look a lot different now. But I also feel incredibly hopeful that this is everything and more that I've needed, that I really trust that the best is yet to come, that it's just right around the freaking corner for me. And all I have to do in this moment, my only job right now, is to continue to show up for me and trust that the universe has my back and continue to learn one lesson at a time. And so I'm really excited to be able to go back to the roots. You know, I'm sure people are wondering how I'm doing. And I'm really proud of how I'm doing, actually. It's definitely been the waves of emotion, for sure, of you go in and out of I feel fine. And then you feel incredibly depressed to the point where you just want to curl up into the fetal position and not come out of it. And then there's also the feelings of frustration and anger and what the actual hell just happened. And then there's just the moments of peace. And I was really happy to have those moments of peace, especially because this has also come with a lot of stress, completely uprooting my life and trying to do it in the middle of training for one of the most important events of the year. I'm literally 6 to 7 weeks away from World Championships, and I'm seated in places to where I can be on multiple podiums this year, and I'm training 17 women to do the same. And it's just part of me is just freaking pissed off that this is happening in that moment. But I'm also maybe this is exactly what I needed during this moment, was to just ground me and bring me back to what's most important and to go all in on me, so that when I show up at the starting line, I know who the hell I am, and I know why I'm here, and I know what I'm fighting for. So there's been parts of me that have been why me? But then there's been more parts of me that have turned that volume down, and it's okay, this is it. This is your moment. This is your time. Let's flip the page gracefully and put that chapter to rest. And let's see what's on the other side in this next chapter. And so that's how I'm doing. I'm starting to settle in well, and I'm taking it day by day. And this morning, I said I had a really profound moment where I just got the chance to be silent. And I got to sit down and journal, which it's been so long since I've done that. I just remember when I left my job, my corporate job in 2020, right after the pandemic hit. And I started my business in online health and wellness coaching. And I just remember how much my mind was blown of a morning routine, working on myself, journaling. Oh my God. how have I never done this before in my life? And I always called them like my peaceful mornings. And I haven't really been able to have that, especially in the last couple of years of just like always feeling like I'm on the go or have other people to please and things to show up for. And my schedule is like, I'm working really early in the morning with clients. And now that I'm closer to work and I get to just focus all in on myself, like I had the opportunity and the chance just to have one of those really cozy, peaceful mornings again. And it was freaking wonderful. And what came from it was essentially what I want to talk about on the podcast today. At the very top of the page, I essentially wrote down just next chapter. And what I did essentially not only helped me get clarity on where I'm going and where I'm at, but it helped me just get really present. And it helped me gain a new perspective on this new season of life, on this new chapter that I'm starting. So I wrote down the next chapter and I just started scribbling things down. And I just want to walk through each of these with you in the hopes that this resonates with you in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're not in my shoes where a relationship came to an end or a chapter came to an end, but you are in a tough spot and you're looking how to move forward. I'm hoping that some of these things might give you somewhere to start, maybe somewhere to start reflecting and journaling yourself. But the first thing that I wrote down was discovering myself again. One thing that really stuck out to me is when I was listening to a podcast from a relationship expert that said, there's been all this time where you've started to build part of your identity with this individual. And not only are you mourning the, separation and the loss of that individual in your life, but you're also mourning a loss of part of like your identity. And I was like, I think the first place that I need to start is just coming back to my identity, figuring out who is Kayla, especially in this next season of life. Like, who is it that I really want to show up as? What are those like core values and characteristics that I want to have, that I want to show up as? And this was so cool for me. And I came up with 6 different words and I will definitely share them with you. The first one is present, because I feel like I've struggled to just be present, to be exactly where my feet are at. I'm always like thinking about the next 10 million steps that I need to take, or I'm worried about things that I can't control in the future, or I'm even worried about things from my past that might like come back and bite me. And when is the other shoe going to drop? And it's like, how about I just like be where my feet are at? And I've always loved the idea of being present, but I don't think I've ever had the chance to just really live through it. And so being present in this next season of life is something that I want to do. Being compassionate. I was at a wedding on Friday night, and this was tough for me to be at a wedding, especially when you had just ended a relationship that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with this individual. And to go to a wedding is not necessarily the number one thing you want to do after you literally just said your final goodbyes to this individual, right? So I was definitely in a tough place, but I'm so glad that I went, because the individuals that I got to watch get married just taught me something. It taught me compassion. It highlighted to me how beautiful being a compassionate person is. Like knowing that both of these individuals are very successful. One of them's a doctor, one of them's an IT security. Like they both have very demanding hour, like schedule work heavy type of jobs, yet they still find time to show up for each other, to show up for other people, to show up for themselves, and to just do so freaking genuinely, to actually serve, to actually care. And I just remembered sitting there thinking like, that's it. I want to be a better person. I want to be like that. I want to be that person that does walk into the room and not only like just shines these, ray of freaking joy and sunlight and just sunshine, but I want to be that person that makes people feel loved and accepted and wanted and like they always have me there in their corner. And I think there's probably some people listening to this that are like, what are you saying? Like, you are that person for me. And I don't doubt that I'm that person for some people. But I feel like there has been part of me that has lost that because of maybe some of the goals that I've had, where I've invested my time and my efforts, just things that have kind of like became mud on the windshield. And I'm excited to really wash that off and really step back into my compassion. The other thing is just being authentic. I think one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I got as of recently from this individual that I parted ways with was, I can talk a really amazing talk that inspires people, but unfortunately there's some things that I just don't walk the walk on, and it becomes hypocritical. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And so I've always prided myself on being genuine and authentic and making people feel like, wow, like I'm safe in this person's presence because I could see exactly who this person is. And I love the parts of me when I was younger, when I just like was 100% myself and I gave no shits about it. I had no filter. I just was me. I love the authentic version of me, the version of me that just like, obviously it's not going to go walking into a room with no filter and like doesn't care about anything, but just isn't worried about what other people are thinking. And it's just completely filled with joy on who it is that I'm showing up as every single day. Just being 100% me. The other one is independent. I feel like I got to really start to be independent this weekend, especially playing Kayla the Builder. And that was really awesome. But just really making decisions for myself. I've noticed that like I lean on a lot of other people, mostly because, again, I am a people pleaser to some sort of a standpoint where it becomes like a saboteur. And I like to have the opinions of others. But I really just want to step into that space of like, I'm going to confidently make a decision for me and trust that that decision is the right decision. And if it's not, then I'll figure it out on the other side. Like, so just really feeling like I can navigate by myself, being able to like date myself again. I used to do that in the past when I was single. And now that I have that chance to do it again, like really, truly date myself and get to know myself and be okay either being the third wheel or just being the person that goes out to dinner alone or goes out to lunch by themselves and just is truly happy in that, right? So just stepping into that independence, being brave. I think there's some things that definitely scare me. Loneliness is one of them. There's some things at my job that definitely scare me right now. There's some things in my training and competing at Worlds that definitely scare me. And I'm really looking forward to stepping into my brave, courageous version of myself through that, of realizing that I am more than enough and I do enough and I am more than worthy of seeking certain outcomes and attracting certain things to my life. I just need to be brave enough to put myself in those positions to actually go out and get it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then learner. I love to learn. I love to grow. And I'm excited that some of these new opportunities that are coming forth for me, not just personally, but professionally, hopefully you'll get the chance to see what some of those are here soon. I'm getting the opportunity to like really add to my skill set as a trainer and just as an individual. So I just wanted to share those. Maybe those inspire you and you're like, oh, like I really resonate with that. And I really want to put that as a part of my identity in this next season of life. So that was the first thing that I wrote down, was just to discover myself again. And I put that up on a whiteboard that I'm staring at right here in front of my desk. I wrote them out so that I could see them every single day and be held accountable to that, to be reminded of this is me and this is who and how I'm showing up for today. The next thing that I wrote down was nourishment, because I know more than anything, one of the most important lessons in life is if you don't have a full cup and you're trying to pour from it, or if you don't have anything in your cup for that matter and you're trying to fill up other people's cup, it's not going to go very well. Like, you have to fill your own cup first and let that overflow into other people's cups. And so for me, nourishment in this time, being able to self-soothe by myself, being able to like really step into that growth that I want to step into, just taking care of myself, not just physically. I feel like I'm really good at that, but taking care of myself mentally and emotionally. All of that stuff is going to really matter. And so I started to write down some of those things. Continuing to do my therapy that I've been doing, that's been really awesome for me, is going to be a game changer. Really thinking about like how I'm nourishing my body in terms of what I'm eating. I think when most people go through some difficult seasons, the first thing that happens is maybe they just don't eat as well. I actually think that I'm now actually going to eat arguably better because I don't have someone in the room with me to kind of bring other things into the kitchen that I'm like, oh, like I have no like freaking self-will when there's a big old tub of ice cream right there. Like you just want to eat it, right? I have no ability to like say no to that anymore. But just really like thinking about like what I'm putting into my body and how much sleep I'm getting and how I'm choosing to start my day. I think that was the biggest one, is realizing how important having those cozy mornings are. And that might require me to wake up a little bit earlier to have that. Each day is going to look different based on my schedule, but to know that the person that I really want to step into every single day is on the other side of just like 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, whatever it looks like, of just giving myself that morning that I really want, that starts my day. Like it's important. And so that was the next thing I wrote out, was nourishment. And I would encourage you to reflect on, how are you going to nourish yourself during this particular time? How are you going to take care of yourself? The next thing that I started to write down was community, because I do think I'm going to need to really lean on community during this time. And one sort of goal that I really have for myself is to get out of my comfort zone when it comes to community. I think I've been kind of used to just having like my very close-knit, smaller, like just group of core people. And I don't think that I need to change to be like the girl that's the center of attention at the party and like has all these friends. Like I quite honestly don't really care to be that. But I do want to take this amazing opportunity of the fear that I have of being so far away now, being in the Loveland, Windsor area, being farther away from my friends than ever before, being further away from my family, being in a place where I don't have a ton of community outside of just like, you know, some work people that I know. Like I really want to take the opportunity to like get to know some neighbors in my place, you know, make some new friends at the gym, and like really starting to form some new relationships and getting to know people more than just like acquaintances on a very passerby level. I feel like the last like year and a half, especially since I started at Pursuit, it has been that, because I've been so focused on like, let me just get back home, let me pour into my relationship, let me do what's comfortable. And I would love to just be that person that is like willing to just say hello to anyone and just strike up a conversation with them. Like that scares the absolute shit out of me, but like I know like that's genuinely what I want. And really what's hiding below and beneath all of that is just the insecurity of like, well, what if people don't think that I'm enough, that I'm not worth their time and attention? And so through working on that fear, I feel like I'm also in a very kind of direct, but maybe more indirect way, working on that saboteur that I've had of myself, which is this not being enough feeling, the thing that I've struggled with for so many years of my life. So community. How can you create community? How can you maybe fill up your calendar with things that you're actually going to look forward to? I actually forgot to mention this too, underneath the discovering myself thing, but I think that this easily goes a part of like community, because you can meet people through doing this, but having a list of new things that you want to try. So like up on my little board here, I wrote, I have this cute thing, of course, I freaking crafted it and it brought me back to my sorority days. It was great. But I have this little thing that says discovery, and then I have a list that says the new things that I want to try. And so I wrote down things like, I'm inevitably going to get a tattoo. Like I'm feeling it so deep in my gut right now that like this is the moment where I need to put like a actual reminder on my wrist of like just things that I need right now as mental cues. Trying new endurance events, learning from my peers on how to power lift and Olympic lift. Attending like certain conferences for like fitness and athletics, taking a class, like an art class or a cooking class. Like I just wrote down a bunch of things that I was like, oh, not only will this help me kind of find myself and spend time with myself, but this also can bring in community of doing things with friends, finding, you know, new friends and doing new things with them. So think about some of those things too, of how you can lean on others during this time as you enter into this new chapter. And the next thing that I wrote down with that being said is nature. I don't know how many of you really agree with this, but if you haven't experienced the benefits of nature, I encourage you to really think about this. Just getting outside, getting sunshine, like just being in the quiet and listening to the sounds around you. It's one of the many reasons why I love going to the mountains. It's one of the reasons why I love just like unplugging and being outside on a walk with my dog or just even with myself. Nature is incredibly healing, and they've talked about that. They've done research and studies on that have shown that. And so one thing that is going to be tough for me is the nature opportunities look a little different in the wintertime in Colorado. I'm not necessarily a skier or a snowboarder, so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I put that on my board just as a reminder of like, how can I find ways, like healing ways to just be with nature? So think about how that shows up for you in your life and how you can add that a part of this next chapter. And then the last thing that I wrote down are some goals. Personal, professional. I will say most of them were professional, just because I feel like a lot of this has been so personal. So when I wrote down my goals, I really wanted to write down some of those things that would push me to learn, that would push me to be brave, that would push me to be independent. And so I wrote down some goals that I had in relation to that. And I'm really excited to, again, have them right here every day in front of me to read and to be reminded of like, this is what I'm going after. And then to have every single week a chance to plan and write out the needle movers of like, okay, these are still the top 6 things that I'm focused on right now in my life. What's going to help move the needle in each of those 6 goals? I feel like I haven't really done that. I feel like I've kind of just been like, kind of like going, I don't want to say maybe not even going through the motions. I feel like I just haven't really had direction. I've had direction in my athletics, don't get me wrong. I've got a training plan each week. I know what my goals are there. But outside of that, it was just like, just try and get things done from week to week to week and keep head above water. And now it's like, I want to be intentional. I want to have a plan. And I want to really see myself at the end of the year achieving some of those things that have been on my mind, but I haven't really had a chance to attack yet. So I do also want to share this too. I think this is also something that really resonated with me that I heard on a podcast, is that in order to make yourself feel better, like your perfectionism might show up. You might try and like fill up your life with all of these checklists and to-do lists to feel perfect, to therefore feel like you're desirable, that like you could actually love yourself. And so as you're going through this process and as you're journaling it, I don't really know the answer to that, of how to find that balance and not cross that line of like, I'm just trying to do all these things to feed into that. But I did just want to point that out, that I did think about that a couple of times of like, am I trying to check all of these things off the list so that I feel better about myself? Or am I doing this because I really want to like grow in this way, and this is going to be a positive addition to my life to help me step into this next chapter? So I don't know if that resonates or if that makes sense, but just at least wanted to throw that out there. And I wanted to end with this today. Thank you so much for listening to this. It's been a long one, I know, but I think that this ending will just tie the bow up perfectly. And that is, the ending of a chapter marks the start of a journey filled with profound personal growth. Reading this out loud just makes me so hopeful and excited and trusting that the best is truly yet to come, that the universe has my back, and that all the things that I truly desire are just right around the corner. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today, and thank you for showing up to listen to me, to support me, to be in my corner as I take these next steps into the next chapter. It means a lot, and I can't wait to see what comes from this. So stay tuned for future episodes of Becoming Her Strong, and I'll see you guys next week on the pod. See you then.